Hello there, Classpad.net users. So today I'm going to go through some of the updates to our paper management, which have changed a bit. So I'm in a paper right now. I've been working on isosceles triangles, and one thing you can do is while you're in the paper you're working on, you can change its settings, all those types of things. You can put tags in, put a description in, and choose to share, right? So I can share it publicly, privately with a URL. All of that still happens within the one paper you might be working on individually. So that's great. But then once you have a paper, another thing you can do now, which is new, so I'm going to go to where my papers live, and you'll see all the documents that I've created. And now we have a couple different options. So you'll see I have all my papers here, which I can look at in list view or in thumbnail view. And let's just show you a thumbnail so you can see what that looks like. It kind of gives you a picture of each paper. So it obviously takes up a lot more room and takes a little bit more time to load. But you can actually see the papers of what's on them. And it's taking a long time because I have many, many papers. So I'm going to go back to list view just for our time saving feature here. There we are on list view. So what I want to talk about now is there's new things in paper management. So here's all my papers. You'll notice that we have this share column, which was not there before. And underneath, you'll see different symbols. So if there is no symbol, that means the paper has not been shared either through a URL or publicly. If it has been shared used by URL, notice when I click on it, it tells me you've created a URL that you could then send to anybody via email or put it on a web page or however you want to share that URL, and then someone else can open that paper. So you've created a way to share your paper. If you see the little global thing, that means you've made this paper not only URL but also publicly available, which means anyone using Classpad.net, if they're in their account, can go to public papers, which is sort of our collaborative, here's some things I've created, let's look at all of them. And you can see everybody who has shared any lessons publicly. And there are quite a few of them. It keeps going, the list goes on, where you can find some ready-to-use lessons. So that's the difference. I'm going to go back to my papers. So that's what these icons mean. I've shared it, I've created a URL, and I'm going to have to use that URL on an email or a web page, or I've also shared it publicly, meaning others can find it, not with just the URL. They can find it however they want. I can still use a URL. You'll also notice that now every paper has its own little three-dot menu. So if we click that menu, notice within the paper management system, I don't have to actually have the paper open anymore. I can actually choose now to share it from within the paper here. I can duplicate it if I want to make a copy and change my copy and keep the original. I can move it, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. I can move it into a folder if I want to start organizing my paper so that it's not just a list. I can change the name. I can add some tags. If I'm sharing publicly, I probably want to add some tags so that people can find it, so in algebra or what the content might be. Or if I don't like the paper, I can just get rid of it. So now you have options that you can do right within paper management without having to open the paper. So let's talk about how do you organize into folders. So you'll notice we now have this folder option here. And all of these are in my top because this is a new feature. So I'm going to show you how to set up some folders. So you'll notice I only have a top right now, right? So I want to maybe let's create a geometry folder. So you'll notice up here in my icons, it has this little folder, create a folder. So let's create a folder. I'm going to call it my geometry folder. And obviously you can name your folders however you want. And so you'll notice I now have a geometry folder. So I maybe want to start putting some things into my geometry folder that I've already created. For example, my isosceles triangles, right? But you can create folders within folders. If I open my geometry folders, nothing's there right now. So let's go back to our top menu. Okay. And let's create a folder within my folder. So I'm going to go to create folder again, and let's say I want a triangle folder within my geometry folder, right? So I'm going to say, okay, triangle folder. And so it creates a triangle, but I kind of want it to be here. So I'm going to go over and move it to live under geometry. So that's where I want it to live. So now you'll notice that my geometry folder has a triangle folder within it. So I can create every topic within my geometry in its own separate folder. So that's a really nice feature to have. So let's go back again to our top because I have nothing in my folders and I have lots of paper. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time kind of moving things a bit right now. But let's just show you how to move a paper. So here's this paper I've already created. I know I want to put it into the triangle folder that's within geometry, right? So again, 3-dot menu, I'm going to go to move, and I'm going to choose the folder that I want to move it into. I want to move it into geometry triangle. So I click it, select it, hit OK, and now that paper lives within my geometry folder, and it's triangle. So now I can organize my papers and be able to find them a lot quicker and easier because I've got them. I could do it by class, like however you want to set up your folder. So this is a new thing for paper management, which is great. And so the nice thing is that now I don't have to actually have a paper open. I can do all of my paper management. I can move them within this system right here just simply by clicking on my 3 dots. I can move, rename, share, duplicate, those types of things. Notice you can't share a folder, but you can share papers. So papers are what gets shared. So have fun exploring this. Start thinking about how you want to organize your papers and share them, and have a great time exploring and playing with Classpad.net.